It's voting day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Three Black Guys with the black male's perspective on politics, hip-hop, and the urban community.
And apparently
Tuesday,
on Sky Daddy, too.
Right. Every Tuesday. Thank you so very much, Cleveland. I don't know if we're going to be on Cleveland after this last conversation, but we are here every Tuesday from 3 to 5 on WOVU 95.9. Make sure you check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and all podcast platforms. Subscribe to our iTunes and YouTube channel for past and upcoming shows every Tuesday. Today is the day. We were kind of, went into a little bit of voting and, woo! So, it's voting day. Lamont, are we showing up today? I mean, early voting, more than 45 million people voted early. I mean, more than 2014. Michigan is up, 128%. Georgia's up 415%. Are we showing up for the polls? And is this going to be a win for the Democrats? Or is it not going to matter? Because you've been saying for the last 4 weeks, it's not going to be a win.
Well, I think what I said before is that we talked about a blue wave. I just, now as I look at the entire landscape, we don't have the necessary amount of water for it to be a wave. And we didn't have that from the get-go, whether everybody came out and voted or not. What I do think is on several different levels, I always talked about local. In certain parts of the country, we still got the marijuana thing going. I think it's out west. In certain parts of the country, we have the, and I may be saying this incorrectly, to where I think there's some voting going on for felons and them, regaining the right to vote. I think in certain places, we just have a lot of these different issues, and that's local. Then I think we can start talking state, where we have the infamous governor races. And honestly, before, I did not think Stacey was going to pull it out, but Stacey got homeboy on the ropes down there. So, Stacey Abrams down in Georgia, I mean, she might come with it. You know what I'm saying? The homie in Florida, he might come with it. You got Ben over there in D.C., he might come with it. So I don't know if that still constitutes a wave, but I do think they're going to make sure that House is good to where, the House is going to be blue and that Senate is going to be red. And Maynard, if I know my basic civics class correctly, that pretty much means Donald's at a standstill until it's time for him to leave, right?
I mean, I think in many ways, if the House goes blue and the Senate stays red, I think, yes, there will likely be gridlock.
Yes.
And yes.
So I think from that, if we're going to go with a wave for that, then that's about the best federal wave that I think we can go for, is that you got that gridlock and just hold them at bay.
I think there are some other pieces in play, and we have to know. I think there's going to be a swing in certain states at the governor level, as you said, Andrew Gillum, quite possibly Stacey Abrams, and some other seats out there as well. And if that happens, there are some other tricks that are up the sleeve of Democrats, if you will, which is expanding the Affordable Care Act, because a lot of what the Affordable Care Act does, or a lot of how it's actually administered, doesn't happen as much at the state level as at the federal level as it happens at the state level. Those governors have to go ahead and decide to pick or to use those dollars and expand it in the ways that they expand it. So that's an interesting dichotomy that may exist that doesn't have anything to necessarily do with what happens on the federal. But in addition to that, it's where the House is where so much of the investigations occur. The House is where, remember, when they decided they were going to hold Hillary Clinton over for Benghazi, it was Trey Gowdy in the House that held those hearings, that they investigated. It was, Devin Nunes in the House that was changing how we were investigating and looking at how we are investigating Donald Trump and the 2016 election with the Russia probe. So the House is where a lot of this stuff emanates. And so although we may not win the Senate, and there's a possibility that we do, but although we may not win the Senate, by flipping the House, that gives us an opportunity not to necessarily say we're going to take a democratic approach to things or that we're running a democratic agenda down anybody's throat, but it's time for us to investigate and learn. I don't care if it's the Democrats or the Republicans. I don't care if it's an independent. I don't care if it's a blue man from outer space who's in the House. I think as Americans, we do believe that if the Russians infiltrated our government, that we need a full hearing on that and be aware of what happened.
So what are your thoughts, Maynard? You think Stacey Abrams is going to get in? A couple of weeks ago, you were saying you didn't think so. Now that Oprah and Barack went to Atlanta, is this a possibility for Stacey?
Certainly, it's a possibility. This is the thing. Last week we had the brother Al Duke on. Shout out to Al. Mm-hmm. But he was, and he and Lamont were talking about people who made mistakes on their voter registration forms or whatever the Secretary of State who is running for governor, Mr. Kemp, who's running for governor. This is the thing. We know that it's not fair. And we at least, despite the fact that somebody made a mistake or didn't make a mistake on their registration, we have to understand that this is cheating at the highest level. And this is disenfranchising 30, 40, 53, 54,000 voters. If Spud, you live in Detroit. Lamont, you're from Detroit. We all been to Vegas. We all been to a casino once in our life, allegedly, at least once. If you knew that the person that was dealing the cards was looking at the cards before they handed them out and that they stood to win, you wouldn't play with them.
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with in not only in Georgia, but also in Kansas. The idea that this guy, not only he deals the cards, then he gets to look at the cards actually before he deals them. That's just fair. We're not playing fair here. And we have to understand that if people aren't playing fair, then there's a reason. There's something at stake. And if there's something at stake, then that means now more than ever, voting is important.
Okay, I got to ask this question. I'm just curious, just because when I saw Lamont, Barack, and I saw, Oprah and, Will Ferrell's going door to door and so forth, which is great. I'm all for that and so forth and so on. And I just was like, I wonder why we have to have all of these celebrities to actually go and do the campaigning. Not that the candidates don't, but, actually help and assist with the campaigning to get people out to vote. And at this point, in my opinion, we shouldn't have to do that. I'm glad, and I think it's very, good to be able to rally people up and be able to get people excited about actually going out to vote. But for me, it says, and correct me if I'm wrong, for me, it says I have to really beg people to go out to vote to get this particular person nominated. Am I wrong, or is this what we should be doing? Because I don't see that on the Republican side as much. No.
Well, you saw what Mike Pence said.
Well, that's Mike Pence. He's in the.
No, but hold up.
But you don't see.
Let me finish.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me finish. I think we have to also.
Shut up.
No, it's okay. We like to be entertained. We talked earlier about Charlton Heston being Moses, and we know that's not right, but we just kind of go along with it because it's part of the entertainment. You know what I'm saying? So we like to see Oprah, and we like to see. I'm going to start calling him Pastor Barack, because he's sounding more and more like a preacher than a politician. If you kind of listen to his speeches now, which is, again, it's part of the entertainment. But what I also think is very funny is that these rallies, he's speaking to people that have probably already voted. So it's almost like, we need to talk to people just like in the church. It ain't the people in the church that need the preaching. It's the people that's not in the church that really need the preaching or the help or the assistance. You feel what I'm saying? So I think that is unfortunate, but it's just part of the entertainment, Spud. You got to make this cool and all of that. And to all of the people that I saw making negative comments about Oprah being in Atlanta, going door to door, Oprah spends a lot of money in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? She gave Tyler Perry a lot of money.
Well, not just that. I mean, Oprah's just not out there campaigning for anybody, neither. It's not like she just puts her, stamp on anybody.
Right. So just like Maynard said, is that Oprah also, who is throwing her support behind Stacey Abrams, probably in her ear, like, listen, girl, you need to make sure that we keep these production credits coming because my dollar is worth more in the state of Georgia than it is in Florida or California or definitely in New York.
Oprah's there? That's why Oprah's there to make sure
listen.
It's not.
Listen.
She's not being noble. She's like, you better make sure that these production credits is fine.
No, because your vote is supposed to be about something that's important to you. This whole, and I get the whole, philanthropic way of that we're just going to throw our vote to help everybody. But no, your vote is supposed to be how is it going to help you in your business and in your household. That's what your vote is really supposed to be about. Period. So Oprah's just doing what she's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, Will Ferrell, does he live down there, Maynard?
No, I don't think so.
So maybe he was just busy. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw Diddy. He's on his way, or he did it already. Ran down to Florida, right, to FAMU to help, so maybe that's just a new thing. I saw Dave Chappelle. He was in D.C., and I know he's a D.C. guy. So he's helping the local politician out there kind of get people energized. So
let's back up for a second because, Spud, you said, well, I don't see this happening on everybody. Sure you do.
Think about it. I haven't seen any celebrities out.
Sure you have. The president of the United States has not been in Washington, D.C. in several weeks. He's been in every state.
When we talk about he is the president, we're not talking about celebrities. Name the celebrities that are out there. I got to give Donald Trump, his props for being out there. My man is working.
Is that not enough? I mean, we put up Barack, they put up Trump. It's the same thing. They're both presidents. Now Barack is the former president. Now, okay, so Oprah came in, but they got their Oprah Winfrey, and his name is what's the boy's name? Rush Limbaugh. So I mean, I haven't
seen Rush Limbaugh on no Trump campaign.
He doesn't go on the campaign trail, but he goes on the radio.
That's not accurate. This is the same thing. We talk about who's going to the actual poll. I mean, who's going to the cities?
It doesn't matter if you go to the city or not. You're going into homes every day. Rush Limbaugh is speaking to 35 million people a day. It's the same. If Oprah Winfrey goes into Georgia and stands on the stage, they can only put maybe 20,000 people in that room. Rush Limbaugh goes into Georgia by way of radio and talks to millions of people every day. Oprah can only go there one day, 2 days, 4 days maybe. Rush Limbaugh been mounting a counteroffensive in Georgia, in Florida, in 48 other states every day for weeks, for months, for years. So it's the same thing. They just doing it differently. Some people cut the grass with the lawnmower. Some people cut the grass with the weed eater. It doesn't matter. You still cutting the grass. So don't get caught up that you don't see Rush Limbaugh on stage somewhere. He's still doing the same thing. Or Mike Pence. Well, Mike Pence ain't an actor. He's still doing the same thing. So they're putting their folks out there. And then let me speak to something that Lamont said. People who are saying that if we just vote, it helps our pocketbooks or helps our household, and that unfortunately is very short-sighted. It's very nearsighted. In the state of Kansas, in the state of Oklahoma, in the state of Michigan, people have been voting pocketbooks and voting what helps their household, and they wind up losing. I'll give you an example. In Kansas and Oklahoma, they said, we want to cut taxes and put that money back in our pocket. And people said, oh, that's going to be a windfall for me. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to take more money home. And they now are sending their children to school 4 days a week. The school systems are failing. State of Florida. Oh, we're going to cut taxes. We're going to eliminate regulations. And you can do whatever you want. Now, what is one of the biggest industries in the state of Florida, y'all? Why would you go, Lamont? What would make you go to Florida?
Weather, baby. Tourism.
Tourism. Seafood. All around the state of Florida now is the red tide, the red bloom, the algae. The water is poisoned. Who wants to go to a beach where the water, you can't get into the water? Who wants to eat seafood where you can't get from waters that you can't even swim in? So you take away the idea that we don't need to raise taxes, or we don't need to have taxes as a means to improve our economy and a means to improve our infrastructure. And then all of a sudden the water's poisoned. One of your main industries is done. You can't have people wanting to come to Florida because of the beaches if they can't get in the water. Now, because the governor, Rick Snyder, said, you know what, this is going to benefit people in other parts of the state, that we're going to basically do certain things that's going to help your pocketbook. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to disrupt regulation. But if y'all want this cut in taxes, if y'all want me to disrupt this regulation, if you want me to make your pocketbooks better, I'm gonna have to poison the people of Flint for that. And people were like, oh, okay, cool. Go ahead and poison. I don't have no Flint friends. Now Flint's water is screwed. And water is the most valuable resource on the face of the planet. So we can't just vote like, I think I'm gonna wind up getting an extra, $35 every 2 weeks in my paycheck because of this tax cut, or $75 a week in my, or $150 a week in my paycheck.
Okay, so Maynard, so let me ask you this question. So, as millions of people have voted thus far, how should we vote? I mean, because I'm so confused. You're telling me that I shouldn't be
confused.
I'm just like, because 1 minute you want me to be concerned about saving how do I save the world when I go in and I'm voting on local issues? Explain that to me. What do I do?
I think we have to always think about voting a balance of things. Do we want to have money in our pockets? Certainly. Do we want to have an environment where the air is clean, where the water is clean, where our children can go to school and not come out dummies? Certainly. Those things don't have to be exclusive to one another. Like, we have to have tax cuts and then our children have to be stupid, or we have to have the smartest children, therefore our taxes have to be the extreme highest. No, that doesn't work. It doesn't have to work that way. There's got to be a balance. We have to recognize that we want, this is what makes cities and states grow.
So wait, hold on, because you go so long. Let's try to break that down, because you basically said that when I made the comment about voting in your own self-interest, that was bad, because then we were going to have bad water and we can't eat the fish and we can't swim. But then you just told me that we don't want to have dummies in our schools. So here's what I'm confused. If I live in Florida, right, am I supposed to vote for the schools, or am I supposed to vote for the water to be clean? What do you want me to do?
I think you vote for all of it. I think we have to understand, if you live in the state of Florida, that the idea that there's no personal income tax, or that they want to, or that Andrew Gillum wants to raise taxes on corporate interests, those corporate interests use up public goods. The big industries in the state of Florida, the two of the biggest industries in the state of Florida are tourism and seafood. And if corporate farmers get to basically dump fertilizer into the water that is poisonous to the water, then think about it. And we don't want to raise taxes. So what's it going to cost us? And if you live in Florida, or if you live in Flint, or Michigan in general, we save this money today. What's it going to cost to actually fix the water system in Flint? What's it going to cost to clean up the water around the state of Florida? Somebody has to pay for that. So why wait until it's a problem? Let's be proactive. Like, we talked about health a little bit when we talked about eating. It's cheaper to eat better today than to fix the ailments tomorrow. Do we agree on that?
Unless Jesus is going to show up.
Exactly.
Wait on that if you
exactly.
want. Wait on
Sky
that.
Daddy is on the way.
Sky Daddy might show up. Then you might be like, you know what, God, Jesus, I know I'm going to eat this triple cheeseburger today, but please forgive me for eating this triple cheeseburger. I know my wife is making me take her to the cider mill today. And you know what, Jesus, I'm going to have a sugar donut, a cinnamon sugar donut. I know I'm not supposed to have a cinnamon donut, but please forgive me for my cinnamon sugar donut and my apple cider dinner. Wait. All right. You're on a master level conversation right now. Let's break this down and let's make this very elementary. That's kind of where we are, right?
Right. But you know what, though? And this is important because people often think that this is master level or that we're talking about playing chess. No, it is checkers.
No, not that way, all right? Because you're from an educational level, you are over people's head right now.
No, I'm not.
You know what? People yes, you are.
People are smart enough to understand.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And this is the unfortunate part, my man. And I'm so hold on.
You're telling these people.
I'm saying
you're telling these people that they're dumb. But I'm gonna tell you that people are very smart.
I am saying
and
that.
What I mean is this: everybody who's listening runs a household, and everybody who's listening has a paycheck coming in, and everybody who's listening is balancing checkbooks and trying to decide what bills get paid. And everybody who's listening can say, do I want to have the new red bottom shoes or do I want to pay for water? And at some point they realize if I don't pay for water, they're going to turn our water off. But these red bottom shoes are nice. Now, let me ask you this. How many times have red bottom shoes got you fed? Now, somebody out here knows how to flip some red bottom shoes to get fed. I'm not going to get into that part. But people recognize that if you don't pay for schools, you wind up with bad schools. If you don't pay for infrastructure, you wind up with bad infrastructure. Roads break down. And there's nobody in this country that's driving down roads that haven't hit a pothole. Everybody understands potholes. Everybody understands potholes. What are we going to do to fix them? Are we going to leave those potholes and just say, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to take a different direction to work?
So now I'm confused on what your point was for Lamont, because that's what, when my thought, that's what Lamont is saying, that you're voting in your best interest of what your household is.
And I'm not suggesting that Lamont might not be saying something larger than just put more money in my pocket. What I'm talking about are the people who often discuss the simple concept of I'm voting my pocketbook. There were lots of people who were, well, the economy's good, so I guess I'm gonna be okay with Trump. No, we don't believe that. We don't believe that Trump is American the way we understand America. We believe that America is a place where everybody is supposed to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We believe that, all men are created equal. At least that's what all of our documents say. So if we believe those things, then we do not believe that it's American to say that you grab women by the genitalia. We do not believe that these people who are coming here for some type of freedom, or people who are coming here from other countries looking for an opportunity to escape the horrors of their own country, that they're terrorists and they're the rapists and they're these. We don't believe. Not all the people do none of the things all the time. That's something that Ellis Marcellus once said. Look, you can't say that all the Mexicans do this or all the so-and-so do that. So we don't believe those things. We don't believe those things because they're not American. So we do believe in investing in our own futures. We do believe in investing in the futures of our children, and that a few extra dollars in our paycheck is not really worth mortgaging our children's futures, our water, our clean air, and our economy in the future. We don't believe in that.
Lamont?
I mean, what do you want me to say? Because Maynard, I made a statement and he turned it into me trying to poison the kids in my immediate area. That
is true. Lamont,
hold on, let me finish.
You don't have children, so you don't care about nobody's kids.
Jesus Christ.
He got nieces and nephews, though. He got nieces and nephews.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I need to talk to my wife about all that money we got that we're going to leave to these little nappy. I can't say that.
Wait now.
We were so PC out here, But and I get what Maynard said, and it makes sense. But all I was saying is that everything isn't about, sometimes it is about making sure that you don't have or vote. Because we had an initiative on our ballot locally in Inglewood where it was about spending money. So, but that was in our best interest of spending the money on a initiative in our area. So, I get where Maynard was trying to go, but again, that wasn't the sentiment that I was trying to convey. And I'll still say this again. When you vote, your vote should be based on your best interest. And sometimes your best interest may be that you think for you to, if it is to spend that extra money for someone else or something else. It's not always about keeping the money in your pocket, because as I'm told in my household, I'm the king of spending money. So,
So you're
again,
saying you're saying that you just should not be voting for Stacey Abrams just because you're voting for Stacey Abrams. If she doesn't align with what you are doing, you shouldn't vote for her. Or for Andrew Gillum, or for the DC, or for anybody else.
Listen, and I say it all the time. The first time I voted for Barack Hussein Obama, I voted for him for the wrong reason. I tell everybody that. I said, I'm going with the black dude. I didn't know nothing about Barack Obama. Nothing.
I said, I'm going for Herman.
Well, he wasn't, in my opinion, a real viable candidate. He wasn't like a real player in the game. I'm just saying when it came down to it.
So what you're saying is that you heard what Herman Cain was saying, and you were like, I ain't.
No, not at all. I didn't really pay no attention to Herman Cain either.
You weren't
because when it,
so at the end of you were going Hillary the first time.
No, who, me?
Yeah.
But I said, we're going with the black dude. When it came down to it, Herman Cain was he was a filler. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like a real player in the game, so to speak. At least I didn't think he did. It was. But I'm just saying, I didn't investigate further into what some of the things that Barack was proposing or any of his platforms or any of that. I was like, oh, no. We're going with the black dude. And let's not sit here and lie and not say that we don't know hundreds, if not thousands of people who did the same thing.
Well, that was kind of my point to Maynard, which is what you're saying is correct. And the reason why I say you're on a master level conversation, going back to what Lamont is saying, is that most people are going in, especially black folks, in my opinion, most people are going into the polls with that mindset. They're not going into the polls or understanding if our friends in Cleveland are not, they like, wait, what are you talking about? You talking about the people in Florida and the water and, dog, I'm going to South Beach. And that's not being judgmental. I'm just saying that most people are not going to the polls in an educated form of fashion. Some people are. I don't want to turn off the people who think that, everybody's on that particular level. But we still do have people who don't understand the bigger picture of what it is that you're talking about. Most people are on the Lamont mindset of, Stacey Abrams is black. Andrew Gillum is black. Let me keep it in that context. Andrew Gillum is black. Fine. Cool. Here's a good point. John James in Michigan. My wife is like, I'm going with him. He's black. And I said, well, babe, you know that, he's a Republican. Oh, I'm not going with him. He's a Republican. I'm like, but you don't even know what he even has to even offer. You're going off of the perception of what you believe is best. And that's not, we can't go into the polls that way. So that's why I was saying you got to bring that down to elementary conversation sometimes.
So Spud, so here's my issue with both you and Maynard. I said this 2 weeks ago about we all just need to be educated in the voting process. Didn't I say that?
Yeah, which is fine.
Okay, but Maynard called me everything but the devil by saying...
No, Maynard was educating the people, but I'm just saying that sometimes I think that when we're talking about, especially when you talk about, I don't want to say that, but I think that there's a population of people out there who really want to vote. But if you listen to it from Maynard's perspective, that's overwhelming. And when you overwhelm somebody, they become numb. And you don't enable them to actually go because they're like, this is way too much information. Like, I don't want to do that. I just want to just go and vote and check off. Not that what Maynard was saying was wrong, because what he was saying is actually correct. I was just saying, look, sometimes we just got to bring it down to a very basic conversation so that way those who are in a basic mindset are like, oh, I get that. Cool, let's go.
Let me say, every when we had this conversation when Michael Steele came on, for some reason, Republicans always want to cut education. I don't know what that is. They want to give vouchers instead of funding the public education system. So if you live in Cleveland and you live in Kansas, Oklahoma, Michigan, you live anywhere where you can hear this podcast. If someone tells you that they want to cut education and you have children, or you think that the children who are in your state are going to go and run the state at some point, why don't you invest in children and not vote for people who want to cut money from those children? I think that that's simple.
That's simple. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. But you went off with the water and the algae in the water and the water's red. And I'm like, well, wait, I just want to go to South Beach and I just want to party it up in South Beach.
Right. And when you go to South Beach with your Michigan dollars that you're carrying in your pocket, the money that you made, and you go to South Beach and you realize the water is red and you can't get in there, are you returning 6 weeks later, 6 months later, or even 6 years later if you hear that the water is still red? You're not returning. So the people in Florida have to say to themselves, we have an industry that's called tourism. We need to defend it. Now, I could take this extra $50 of my of tax money and put it in my pocket and take it away from cleaning up the water. But if I don't clean up the water, then the tourism industry loses. If the tourism industry loses, then I lose. It's not chess. It's checkers.
We got it.
If people stop, if we know this, we know the people of Michigan know this very simply. If people started buying Hondas and Toyotas and Nissans, or at the time Datsuns exclusively, then Motown loses. Motor City loses. Is that right?
That is
I think so.
That's going to be a problem.
And we want to make sure we shout your boy Michael Steele out, because he called Donald stupid the other day, right?
Michael Steele. He's yo, man. I got a blue jacket for Michael Steele. I got one his size. You know, Michael Steele is.
Anna Navarro might need to get that blue jacket. Anna Navarro need to get that blue jacket as well.
No. Yes, she is going to vote for Gillum, or she said she voted absentee for Gillum in the state of Florida. But she said it with such. Like, I'm not sure if I really want to do this. So, we get her a purple jacket. She can get a purple jacket. Thank you, Navarro, for coming on board. But, we just go and say it's purple.
All right, so let's move this conversation along. Don Lemon, speaking of CNN, he said that we have to stop demonizing people and realize that the biggest terror threat in this country is white men. Maynard. Is the biggest terror threat in this country white men?
What did Andrew Gillum say? I'm not saying you're a racist, but the racists think that I'm not saying that white men are the biggest terrorist threat, because, again, like Ellis Marcellus said, not all of any people do all of the things that are attributed to them. But we have to look at what terrorism is, and it's a way to use violence or some other type of intimidation to control how people think, feel, and operate, right? And sending bombs to a church, and we do know that anti-Semitic crimes are up 57%. All these kinds of things are happening. When you look around the country and think about the people who are mass murdering individuals, and sending bombs to a church, sending bombs to politicians, sending bombs to politicians, going into synagogues and killing 11 people, going into churches, houses of worship,
going
like
into
Mother
yoga studios. God, we can't even go and do yoga anymore.
Going into Mother Emanuel in South Carolina and killing 9 people, and then telling the 10th person that you don't kill, I want you to tell the world what happened here. And going to Charlottesville last year and shouting, Jews will not replace us in blood and soil, and carrying your tiki torches as a means of being to intimidate other people. These are terrorist attacks. And the face of those terrorist attacks happen to be white men. And so there is some truth in what Don Lemon is saying. I think that there was some hyperbole in what he said, that he tried to make it all white men, or someone can take away that he said all white men. But, I haven't seen any attacks on American soil by ISIS or Al Qaeda in years. The last time Al Qaeda struck and had any success in America, I think, was 9/11. I don't know if ISIS has truly ever had a terrorist attack on American soil. But the people from the alt-right and the Unite the Right folks, they're being successful at killing Americans.
He said most of them radicalized to the right, to your point, and we have to start doing something about them. Lamont, what do we need to start doing about them?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, them, unfortunately created this system of terror, and I know we talked earlier about, we always go back to, to slavery in this country. In my opinion, the slave master was the original terrorist, because this is, I'm sorry?
You're talking truth right now.
No, I'm just saying, I think terror is about intimidation. It's about violence. I mean, and it could be in this country that there was some African American or African slave master that I just don't know about. But from everything that I've read and researched, every slave master in this country,
on this continent,
was non-black. So, so
is Colin Kaepernick being intimidated?
I mean, of course.
So he's being terrorized.
Absolutely. But I think Colin, he's a smart cookie, and he got some real G's around the way. He's still getting that bread though. So I'm not feeling as sorry for Colin as some people who are, talking about giving him a job, because he's actually more powerful without a job than, just like we used to always talk about, and this is going to get me in trouble too. But like Coretta Scott King was a professional widow. You know what I mean? If she would have, in her lifetime married someone else, she wouldn't have the same exact, reverence in certain communities. What? What do you mean? Listen, man, we voting today, man. So we out here. I'm feeling myself. I'm ready. Listen, and just so we're very clear, what I don't understand in our community, why don't we embrace the concept of absentee? I don't understand that, because the whole standing in line, when I found out I could cast my ballot beforehand, why would I ever stand in the line? I never understood why we didn't take that into as a nouveau thing in our community. Do you know why?
I don't know.
We've been conditioned to do that.
I think
gotta get that I voted sticker, B.
I think a lot.
I don't need no sticker. My time is valuable.
I think a lot of it has to do with a few things that, people don't. There are people out here who are trying to miseducate individuals about how voting works, in-person voting, absentee voting, early voting, any other kinds of way to submit or vote. There are lots of people who are out here actively trying to miseducate, mislead, and essentially scare, very good word, scare Black people, people of color, or people who are not in a small section of white mainstream from voting. People try to scare gay people. They try to scare young people. They try to scare Black people.
So what's the scaring, man? I don't understand. What do you mean scaring?
53,000 people, are getting their actual voters, whatever the voter suppression is in Alabama. Oh, there you go. I don't need to go to the polls anyway. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go and shoot up. Let me go back to the white supremacy thing. The slave master thing.
I'll give you.
That wasn't my question. My question was my question is, or was, and still is that to me it seems that our community is promoted to go stand in line and vote, which is fine. But what I'm saying is that even it seemed like to me now this year that we were promoted promoted to about early voting. In this state, you can early vote here, you can do X, Y, and Z, and that's fine. I was just asking, why is that it's not promoted to us about the absentee ballot, that you can vote early, submit your ballot, and be done with it?
Well, I think, let's back up. Again, voting. Listen to this. On Saturdays, You can sit down and watch your favorite college football team, whether it be Alabama, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, and somewhere in the middle of that game, you're going to see a commercial for the Marines or for the Army or Air Force or the Navy or even the Coast Guard occasionally. When is the last time have you, and the federal government spends that money. That's the federal government that spends money to promote voting. When is the last time you've seen the federal government spend money? I'm sorry, the federal government spends money to promote joining the service, but they never spend money to promote voting. Not like that, right? They spend millions of dollars to promote joining the service. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, but they never spend money on promoting voting. So we have to understand that no one is interested in seeing that lots of people vote. It's the best kept secret. That's one, Lamont. It's a secret.
I don't really know if it's the best kept secret because
it's a secret.
My grandmama's biscuit recipe is the best kept secret.
My mama biscuits. My mama biscuits. My mama biscuit recipe.
All right, let's move on. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lamont.
No, but I was going to say, I don't, and we didn't really answer your question because I don't even know if there is an answer. I mean, I think Don Lemon, he does get a W. We just need to make sure that, that we watch him on New Year's Eve, that he's not out here taking shots on CNN because he's valid.
Ooh, we can't.
You know what I'm saying?
Do that again.
We can't.
Never do that again.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because Don Lemon is coming into his own, you know what I'm saying, in terms of him being able to speak his truth, you know what I'm saying, on many different levels, and he's on point. But I don't know if there's an answer to that question. Maybe we got to call Sky Daddy for that. I don't know.
No, I think that, I think it's important for, what his statement was is that we have to start doing something about them because going back to the fear piece, it creates fear. Now, there's plenty of Jewish people now who are afraid. You're going to be on alert. Going to church, you're going to be on alert. Going to the freaking yoga studio, you're going to be on alert. This creates fear. And, I'm sure for the politicians, it only heightens the security, from where Caesar Sayoc is like, yo, I'm going to put bombs, at all these particular politicians' mailboxes. It only creates more fear, man. And I agree with them on that. And I'm not really the biggest Don Lemon fan, but we do got to start doing something about them in a way that creates an example. And I think that we talked about this either a week or two ago about why it's really unfortunate that when you see a terrorist or a white supremacist or anybody, I want to say that, anybody who's creating these acts on television, that they don't get demonized in a way that makes the entire race look bad. And it's sad that, but if it's black person, totally different story. Anyway, let's get to Care or Don't Care. Did you guys watch Jamel Hill Shut Up and Dribble? Anybody care about Jamel Hill Shut Up and Dribble?
I'm excited for it, but is it out already?
Yeah, it came out last night.
Yeah.
I have not seen it. I'm excited for it. I appreciate that she and LeBron have teamed up, and LeBron's doing major things in these streets.
Lamont?
Of course I care. Mumford Mustang. Let's go.
That's the only reason why you care?
What?
Lamont, can you reach into the Mumford Mustang Alumni Association and be like, hey, Jamel, we need to see you, homegirl?
Well, here's the deal. I did not pay my alumni dues last year of $75. So let me get that $75 together because they wanted me to buy a brick. You know how they sell the little bricks for the wall or whatever, and it was $75. So I'm on it, and then we'll put the call in.
I think you need to buy 2 bricks.
Okay, I got you. Done deal.
Tyler Perry said that he's retiring Medea. Anybody care? Don't everybody talk at one time.
Maynard?
Next.
You don't care about Medea? Ah! Why you don't care about Medea in these streets?
Next.
Lamont, you don't care about Medea?
Not really. I'm,
just trying to make the bit go longer, Lamont. That's just trying to
he said a bit.
You gotta make the bit. I got care or don't cares for days.
Wait, this is a bit? Wait. We're comedians now?
Right.
Listen, man, God bless Tyler, because again, here's what I will say, and to take it to a very serious note, Medea has fed a lot of families. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Medea, if I'm not mistaken, is the reason why that man was able to buy that studio. Medea is the reason why, the state of Georgia, has a lot of tax revenue. So, I get it. I understand it. Is it something that I personally consume? Absolutely not. But hopefully that man is still able to, create jobs and revenue and a very viable tax base in the state of Georgia. Because I don't think the studio is actually in Atlanta, but I think it's in Fulton County. But I know it's in the state of Georgia. And he pays taxes, brother. So God bless him.
I mean, Tyler Perry has been able, to your point, Tyler Perry has been able to put a lot of people to work, man. I mean, if it wasn't for Medea, what's my man in that Lamont didn't help out in New Jersey, Maynard?
Who?
My man that was at the Gregory name, that was at the Whole Foods that Lamont goes to all the time. That he
and Clifton.
Waiting for Tyler Perry, because as you can see, Lamont wasn't gonna help out my man Gregory.
Well, I wasn't in the
Gregory?
position. I wasn't. I don't really know, sir. I'm not sure. I don't. I have no idea. Next.
Ava DuVernay is doing a documentary on Prince. Anybody care? Everybody's doing
no.
I'm
no.
appreciative of it. I mean,
no, not her. That's not her lane.
Huh?
No.
Why not? What she should be doing?
So you're gonna put her on? Is that what you're gonna do?
More
Called Lifetime?
More Wrinkle in Times? That's what she should be doing, the flop? That's what she's supposed to be doing? More Wrinkle in Times?
I mean, that's something you got to have. And again, depending on who her contributors are, like that's like a Jimmy and Terry kind of, they got to be all in the mix. That's on a.
I'm sure she's going. She's an
Terry.
accomplished filmmaker.
You all say that, but you don't know. Jimmy might be like, man, I don't know if we want you touching this. You got to be real careful with that.
She's an accomplished filmmaker. She did a phenomenal job with Selma and the 13th. What she did with,
it wasn't phenomenal. It was okay. Selma was okay.
13th was dope. Selma, I agree with you. That was like
Selma was okay.
She's done a phenomenal job with Queen Sugar, and she'll do Queen Sugar's dopeness.
Down with Queen Sugar, but Queen Sugar and parlaying into Prince, you got to be careful with that. It's like making a movie on Princess Diana. You know what I'm saying? It's
okay.
like,
I know. I get it.
Everybody can't touch that.
He would prefer that Harvey Weinstein did the film. I get it. I
didn't really care. I mean, I like Ava DuVernay. I really like 13th. I don't know if I am a huge fan of her directing. I like her as a filmmaker. I think she should continue on. Like, I didn't get Family Feud at all. And again, Maynard, you're smarter than me. You're on the master's degree level. You probably was able to comprehend that. But when I saw Family Feud, the video, I was like, I still don't get it. And maybe that was just a J&B, concept. And she was just like, forget it. I'm just going to, put it into video. But I was like,
I don't think that was her. I think that was J&B, like you said. It's like that statement that that Will Smith made. When you want to say that 2 + 2 ain't 4, 2 + 2 ain't 4. Like, wait a minute, what? I don't. Once you're certain richness, 2 + 2 ain't 4.
Can I ask a question about Jay-Z?
Tread lightly, my guy. Tread lightly.
Everybody knows I'm a huge Jay-Z fan. Is it the marriage, Lamont?
Yeah, dog. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. Listen, man. Listen.
Okay.
Let me share something with you. Listen.
Okay,
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Listen. Yo, dog. Listen. And this is me sharing a part of my life. I was told in therapy that I'm supposed to open up. So I'm at the dog park the other day, and I'm getting the little doggy bags, where you pick up the dog poop.
Right.
And I had to check myself. I am following behind a 4-legged animal picking up dog poop. And if I wasn't married, this would not be happening. It just wouldn't. So I know where you're going. It's the marriage, bro.
That's
It's just
that's dopeness. I appreciate how you put that together. That's important to think.
it's listen, my dude. I'm picking up dog poop behind a 4-legged animal that looks at me like, "Are you finished picking it up?"
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go. I'm like, "This is my life." Yes, it's the marriage.
All right.
That's
well,
it.
at least I know. Okay, because I was like, I'm looking at these Halloween outfits. And I'm like,
Yes.
Hove. Some of these outfits. I ain't mad at what was the guy? Him and
Fist. The fist.
the fist? What's the fist guy? Maynard?
It's your lane.
No. The
Back in the
67.
you talking about Carlos?
Oh, I don't know if it was Carlos or it was Tommy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if which one it was.
Tommy Smith.
Tommy Smith. Thank you.
Juan Carlos. Tommy Smith and Juan Carlos.
So that was dope, but then I saw a couple of others, and I was like, even Steve Stout. I was like, wait a minute, Steve Stout. This is a lot of makeup. It's a lot of
when you get that kind of money.
There's some lipstick. Diddy's Halloween outfit was fly, but I was like, Steve Stout, and I'm a huge Steve Stout fan, but I was like, this is the third year in a row I've seen you in some lipstick. Now, no when to say when. Anyways,
I didn't see the Steve Stout. Which one was that?
go to his Instagram. It's a little subjective. Little lipstick.
So can we talk about lipstick real quick?
You wearing lipstick now?
No.
So I was like, wait, Charlamagne done hooked you up to get this makeup? You ordered some Fenty or something? Did you order Fenty this week?
Nah, but here's my issue with the lipstick. I was trying to figure out how come as children our parents put petroleum jelly on our lips and on our faces and hands sometimes and sent us out to school, because it was cold as a child and it's supposed to protect you. But I had to ask my mother when I got older, isn't petroleum gas? Doesn't petroleum catch on fire? Maynard?
Yeah.
So why did they do that to us?
I don't know. Okay. They didn't want you to be ashy. You can't go out here ashy, man. You cannot go out here ashy.
No.
You
had to have that petroleum jelly slapped on your face.
Yeah, but why are you putting gasoline on a child's face?
Nah, dude.
It's flammable.
Just give my man. Come on, man.
All right. I got a lot to work through, man. Okay. All right, I'm done.
You really do need to have a long sit down with your moms.
Listen, man. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Y'all just let me know. I'll put the call in and we'll bring her on because as we get ready to go into this holiday season, I'm wondering why we are going to embrace some of the things we're going to embrace over the next 60 to 90 days. I don't understand it.
Like Thanksgiving? You're not going to have no turkey? You're not going to give out no gifts? You're not going to pop no champagne New Year's Eve?
No. This is the year that I think I'm going to give it all up.
Give it all up.
Because Thanksgiving is that we're going to be celebrating murder. Agreed?
Agreed.
Christmas, we're going to be celebrating the birth of Jesus.
Sky Daddy.
AKA Sky Daddy's son, right? AKA which some people
wait. Is Sky Daddy God or is Sky Daddy Jesus?
I thought Sky Daddy was God. Jesus. No, Sky Daddy's not God, Maynard?
Well, according to Jesus, the only way to the Father is through him. And then he died, he ascended to heaven, he sat at the right hand of the Father. And he is God according to Christians.
God in the flesh. Okay. All right. So now are we clear on that, Lamont? Who Sky Daddy is?
No, I thought Sky Daddy was God.
No, yeah, right. Look, Lamont, you ain't alone with this one. You are not alone. It is so much confusion.
Yeah. So anyway, but again, we're celebrating the birth of Christ, which again, for me, I do believe that there was a Jesus Christ. I do believe that he was born. How he got here, we could talk about that. But even in the book that you've given me, they're already telling you he wasn't even born in December. So that's a whole nother thing. And then this whole, we're going to pop a bottle for New Year's, like, dude, like it just all of this just makes no sense, especially when we are the ones who are on the consuming end and not the ones on the benefiting end. It just, because again, when I read that statistic, over the past 30 years, over $300 billion was given to the black or contributed from the black church.
Yeah, but we're consumers. I mean, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. Sooner or later, if we're going to be out here trying to vote, which is something we didn't do before, there's a lot of other things you got to try something new.
I
you know
read Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics, or whatever the case may be, over the weekend, and he talked about one of the things that the reason why black people shouldn't vote, right? Or he said vote for what? Excuse me. He was saying basically that, black folks need to get an economic base, right? We need to practice group economics. Until then, it really doesn't even matter. And I kind of agree with this. I'm down with voting. I'm still going to vote, and I support voting. But until we practice group economics, none of this is going to matter, right? It's really a matter of group economics. And once you got your businesses together, you got your group economics together, and you have that collectively, then you can go to the politician level, because then you can start to buy politicians. And a lot of people who I talk to, say that that's a powerful philosophy, because we don't own no politicians. And it kind of goes back to, I don't know if we said this on here, but somebody else said this about, Barack Obama, about why he was willing to help, Hispanics and the LGBT communities, because they raised a lot of money for him. And we didn't have any control over black politicians or politicians, period, because we don't have any group economics. And then you can go into buying your, judges and your police officers and so forth and so on. And then going into, establishing and buying your media so you can control the narrative. But without group economics, you can't really get into anything further than that, which that's his thing. I mean, I read that it's pretty powerful. You should check out Dr. Claude Anderson, even if you go on YouTube and, listen to some of his things. But I don't know, man. I don't. What do we do? I mean, we consumers, Lamont. That's what we do. We waiting, like you said it last week and the week before. We waiting for the black party. We waiting for the black party.
wait.
We got our tickets already. We going to the black party.
Maynard.
Yeah.
So I called to find out how much the table was for the black party. You know how much it is? You get $1,000. It's $1,000. You get 3 tickets and a bottle of $30 champagne for $1,000.
You know what's sad? I mean, I was in this, a client of mine, I'm sorry, man, real quick. A client of mine, has a nightclub, and I was in there, and I was like, wait, this is wine that they putting these sparklers on. This ain't even Moet. This ain't even, forget the wine part, right? Forget the champagne part. This ain't even like a good wine. This is not even like, this is like almost Booze Farm wine. And y'all spending $150 on a bottle that's not even good, nice? That's like almost you have to Google Golden Corral. I mean, you can't even at least get a Barefoot? It's not even Barefoot wine.
I'm sorry, did you say Barefoot, sir?
Barefoot! That's at least the lowest. Lindemans used to be, the lowest you could go. Now, it's Barefoot. Or Sutter Home.
Barefoot is not the lowest you can go.
Sutter Home.
No, sir. Some people can go that low. We won't support that here on this podcast. So
what's the lowest wine?
We're not in that price range. I'm sorry.
What's the wine that's in the box? Is that cheap?
Yeah, that's cheap wine. Or is wine? I don't know. I'm not buying Lindemans. I don't even buy Barefoot no more. I at least got to go to Josh or Robert Mondavi, Private Select or something.
Wait. While you playing that Josh, and I'm not a wine guy.
That Josh is
that
serious.
Josh, my wife drinks that. That's okay. That Josh is all right.
Oh, because your wife drinks it, it's okay.
What do you want me to do about it? I'll tell you, I'm picking up dog poop, man. You asked about Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? You asked why is Jay out here looking the way he's looking. Yes.
I just wanted to know, man. I mean, I'm a huge Jay-Z fan. I ain't mad at him. I know he got 3 kids now. I mean, this is not the, streets is watching Jay-Z by no means at all.
We should be on the cake breads. That's what we should.
Well,
be
now
on.
wait a minute. Now that's a little. Now you're in $30, $40 bottles. That's
where you should be in. That's where you should be.
Nah. What was the one joint that you was drinking at one time? The crime people.
Oh, it's it was 19 Crimes.
19 Crimes is you can get you a nice 19 Crimes, but it's unfortunate, but that is where our mind is as we end today's show. Is it? I mean, how do you even change it? I'd rather go to the black party than I would rather go and vote. I'd rather spend, which is 2 times as much for New Year's Eve than for me to save money. I'd rather go and spend $1,000 on Christmas, which I ain't mad at that, than for me to
no,
save
I'm
money.
mad. No, man, I'm mad at 1,000.
Okay, 200. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and we're going to spend crazy amounts of money for the next holidays. Let's just go to Thanksgiving, which is coming up. How much is the average family going to spend for Thanksgiving? $500? Turkey?
Jeez. No, I'm not doing
Christ.
it. 500. A turkey is like $29, my man.
I mean, but especially, in Michigan, Detroit, what I learned, that's just the turkey. You still got to get chitlins. You still got to get greens. You still got to get... So in the Detroit, they do spaghetti. They do...
Spud.
What?
Did you say chitlins?
They do chitlins.
So listen. You get you a turkey. It's going to cost you $20-some. You get you some greens. You can get some greens. It's going to cost you about $6. That's about it for the greens. Macaroni and cheese ain't going to cost you but $5. Some yams, you're going to probably spend...
What kind of cheese are you buying for $5, man?
Well, I don't eat macaroni
When has
and
the
cheese.
last time you've been to the... Listen.
Okay.
End the show so we can get this... When have you been... And you got to put cheese...
How much does it cost to get how much does it cost to get a box of macaroni?
You didn't say macaroni. Even a good box of macaroni might be $1.99.
Okay, and how much is it going to cost in cheese? $10?
Yeah, but we don't. But black folks ain't doing no box mac and cheese.
But where do you get the macaroni? That still comes in a box.
That's $2. Okay, cool.
Okay. And then how much is the cheese going to cost you? How much is the cheese going to cost you?
Cheeto cheese, a 6-ounce bag, that might be $3.99 or $4.99, bro.
All right.
You going to
still ain't close.
5 bags.
Okay.
Lamont, calm down. Okay, we got it, Lamont. It costs
35 bags.
It costs a lot of money to make
30
macaroni
bags
and
of that.
cheese in your house.
30 bags of cheese and the shells ain't gonna get you close to $500.
But man, you talk. How many? Think about the amount of people that come over for a big families, Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, some people got 2 turkeys. Some people got spaghetti. And I've been to people's houses that got spaghetti, chitlins, greens, corn,
greens,
potatoes, tomatoes. I mean, they got it all, man. And people spending a lot of money for Thanksgiving. But that's what we do. Then we're going to go to Christmas. Then we're going to go for New Year's. And then we're going to be like, we broke. We're going to be sitting around until February waiting on taxes.
There was a lot of people in Detroit and Chicago that spent a grip of money on Sweetest Day a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't even heard of that until I moved to the Midwest.
I didn't never heard of that until I moved to the Midwest. I was like, yo.
What is Sweetest Day?
That was Sweetest Day.
Exactly.
And then my wife is like, oh, it's for the men, but I'm the one that's buying everything.
Man, that's
for the men. All right, well, we out. Thank you so very much for listening to this episode of 3 Black Guys with the Mic on WOVU 95.9. We're here every Tuesday. Hopefully we won't get kicked off this week. We're here every Tuesday from 3 to 5 p.m. The polls are still open. You got plenty of time to go and vote. If you haven't, go out, go vote, 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 and vote. Maynard, last words on voting. Lamont, last words on voting.
Vote. Vote, vote, vote.
Yeah, that was very inspirational, Maynard. Thank you. Makes me want to go out right now. Lamont.
That's it. I mean, listen, man. I echo Mano's sentiments, but I want to do it a little bit more. Be educated when you vote. There are tons of resources that you need to research, as some people say, before you go into the booth. I was told in some ballot polling places, you could take your phones in there. You know what I'm saying? If you need to do your homework while you're standing in line, those long lines, just do your homework and vote.
Do your homework. We'll do it again next Tuesday. Guys, have a fantastic week. We out.